Hey there and welcome. As always, you can call me Mikhail or Michael, and before I start this video, I want to say thank you all who decided to support me financially, be it through Patreon, PayPal or Super Thanks. I really appreciate your generosity, so thank you friends and have a blessed day. Now, today's video I will start with Zaporozhye and to be more specific, situation around Rabotino. Within the last 24 hours, Russians significantly increased the intensity of the attacks that were happening all across the fronts in attempt to squeeze Ukrainians out of this bridgehead, which is currently situated around Rabotino, and was a result of Ukrainian summer offensive. And within the last day, Russian forces were able to penetrate Ukrainian defenses that were located right in front of Rabotino along these force lines, as well as entered Rabotino from the south, which allowed Russians to successfully attack and capture about half of the settlement. Here on this video you can see Russian armored assault within Rabotino village. As you can see, they move somewhat freely along the roads, which would mean that at the moment of recording, Ukrainian frontal positions will already far behind than the center of the town. And this is exactly how much territories Russian forces were able to acquire with those attacks. In addition to this, Russians also advanced to the east of Rabotino and captured these positions as well. Because of these simultaneous attacks, Ukrainian formations that are currently located here found themselves in a semi-encirclement and, as recent reports suggest, had retreated from this area completely. Seemingly just yesterday, situation seemed to be under Ukrainian control as they consistently counterattack Russian forces, even recapturing some positions. And today, it seems that everything collapsed right on their heads. Russian attacks from Verbovo and from this recently established small bridgehead also forced Ukrainians to retreat from this small bridgehead in front of Verbovo, and I'm sure soon we will see territorial changes in regard to this as well. In one of my last videos, I've said that Ukrainians are preparing to leave this whole bridgehead as they are preparing serious fortifications to stop Russians near Orikhiv, but it seems that Ukraine ran out of time and hadn't built sufficient fortifications as of yet. This makes the entire collapse of the Rabotino bridgehead all more tragic for the Ukrainian armed forces. The elimination of this bridgehead will allow Russians to even out the fronts, use all the troops that were concentrated in this area to attack, and then strike upon Novodanilivka, Malotokmachka, Novodarivka, and of course, important town of Orikhiv itself. With this information in mind, I'm sure you can see how this can be very problematic for Ukraine. If nothing is done, we may see a massive Russian breakthrough on this front, with Ukrainians completely giving up the initiative. At this time, not only do I want to know your opinion on this whole situation, whether Ukrainians will hold on desperately for this bridgehead or will retreat to a better suitable positions to defend Orikhiv, and how fast that will happen. While you're at it, I also want to kindly ask you to consider supporting this video with a like, comment, and a subscription. As you know, these actions really help promote this video to a wider audience, thus helps spread the message. Thank you in advance, and let's carry on. From Zaporozhye, let's move to the Novomikhailivka sector and discuss recent Ukrainian counterattack that took place along and around this road in between Vodyane and Solodke, where as a result of successful counteroffensive operations, this is exactly how much territories Ukrainians were able to recover in the last 24 hours. At this point in time, it is extremely hard to say what exactly Ukrainians are doing. Seemingly, Zaporozhian front is currently collapsing for them while they counterattack in Novomikhailivka. Perhaps it is done so with an intent to relieve currently stormed Novomikhailivka so that the Russians would be forced to reinforce their southern flank. But again, it seems that this is not where the main fighting is currently happening, and this counterattack seemed to be a small drop in the big sea. Now from here let's move to Avdiivka and also discuss the situation here. Yesterday I reported of multiple Russian assaults all across the fronts that were happening in the direction of Severne, Tonenke, Laskina, Orlivka and Stepove, and show you a video of a Ukrainian forces using Abrams tanks as a desperate measure to stop the Russians. I also asked whether it will help and how effective Abrams would be on the battlefield, and not only you gave me interesting answers, but also the reality itself, as of course the Abrams did not help. First of all, village of Stepova is now in full Russian hands. As a result of successful storming operations, Russians not only did completely capture Stepova, but some positions to the south of it, solidifying their gains, as well as increasing their buffer zone and achieving full victory. Now with it, Russian forces gain ability to storm village of Berdichi directly, which for a long time Ukrainians used as a staging point for their continuous, and now as we know, fruitless counterattacks in the direction of Stepova. This isn't the only place where Russian forces advanced, as they were also able to establish a bigger foothold within Laskina, with some reports suggesting that Ukrainians are withdrawing from the village. Here you can see exactly how much territories that was, and as you can see, like in the manner of Stepova, not only Russians advanced within the village, but also captured significant portions of the front to the south of the village, yet again further solidifying the front line. It seems that the clearing operations are currently ongoing in Laskina, with Ukrainians occasionally launching small groups of DRGs to stop Russians from doing that, but generally it doesn't seem that they are counter-attacking in mass here. It seems that they are in full rout, and that the Russian offensive here severely damaged their cohesion and morale. Same situation is also reported in Severna, as even more fresh report suggests that the town had also fallen into Russian hands. Here you can see the territorial changes that took place in the last 24 hours. As you can see, not that big, but those territorial changes itself is already sufficient enough to capture most part of this small village. With it, Ukrainians too retreated to the more bigger village of Tonen and took defense along its streets and force lines. Just like in Laskina, clearing operations are currently conducted within the village, with Ukrainians mostly using artillery and going on tank raids to minimize effectiveness of the Russian forces doing those operations, but so far doing little to no damage. When assessing the entire situation on the front, I think obvious comes to mind. Ukrainian lines did not only shattered, but completely collapsed under their own weight. As you know, it is very rare for the front to move so fast and so significantly, which indicates how fierce and persistent Russian attacks are. Now at the very last, let's move to the city of Bakhmut and discuss the situation around Ukrainian-controlled village of Ilaniski, which is currently being stormed by the Russians from all possible directions in an obvious attempt to capture it. The significant importance of the village cannot be underestimated, as it is located right in front of vital logistical hub of Chasiv Yar, as well as along very important highway. So Russians are continuously and with extreme persistence attack in the direction of the village, as well as to the north and the south of it. Although there are no territorial changes within the village itself, as Ukrainians are doing everything in their power to stop the Russians were able to advance to the south of the village. And here on this picture, you can see exactly how much territories Russians were able to capture within the last 24 hours from the Ukrainian forces. With it, not only were Russians able to solidify the entire front line, which will then help them to attack to the flank and rear of the Ukrainians currently defending Ilaniski, but also significantly and greatly worsened the situation for the Ukrainian defenders currently fighting to recapture this massive fortification area that is situated to the north of Klishchiivka. Now, this position is out of reach for the Ukrainians from most of the flanks, and only frontal assaults in its direction is possible from now on. With this, we might expect more Russian territorial gains around this fortified area, and counterattacks in the direction of Klishchiivka in attempt to fully capture it. Generally speaking, Russian army became extremely active all across the fronts, currently attacking in Kupiansk all over the front line, as well as in Liman, Seversk, Bakhmut, all across Donetsk, in Vuglidar, as well as in Zaporozhye and former Velika Novosilka sector. And mind you, the intensity of the attacks does not stop, in fact grows even more. Those territorial changes and obvious collapse of Ukrainian defenses, first in Avdiivka and now in Robotyne, is a great example of what I'm talking about. So far, all throughout this year, Russian forces will continue their offense, and God knows how far will they go. Again, if you want to tell me your opinion, please do so in the comment section below. It'll be very interesting to read it. With this, I end today's video. Hopefully it was to your liking and was informative enough. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day, and always remember, Russia will be free and great.